The surprising link between cataracts and diabetic retinopathy. Protect your vision before it's too late. You wake up early one morning, sunlight pouring through the curtains. You reach for your glasses, expecting clarity, but something's off. The world looks hazy, not completely blurred, just muted, as if someone placed a sheer curtain over your eyes during the night. You rub them, blink, try adjusting the blinds, but nothing sharpens the view. For many people over 50 living with type 2 diabetes, this moment isn't just hypothetical, it's real, and it often arrives quietly, without warning, disguised as just getting older. But here's the part no one tells you. Two of the most common causes of gradual vision loss in older adults, cataracts and diabetic retinopathy, don't just show up separately. They can actually appear together. And when they do, the damage can accelerate in ways most people never expect. You might already be noticing subtle signs, that halo around headlights at night, colors that seem less vivid than they used to be, or the occasional dark floater that vanishes before you can point it out to someone. They seem small, easy to ignore, until they aren't. Like this moment from Carol, a 62-year-old retired teacher from Arizona, who said she thought her reading glasses were just scratched until her eye exam revealed both early cataracts and mild retinopathy. She had no idea they were connected, or that one could hide the other. If that sounds even a little familiar, hit the like button, because recognizing yourself in these small signs might just save your sight. And here's something else many people don't realize. Cataracts can actually make it harder to detect the early signs of diabetic retinopathy, meaning one condition might be quietly hiding the other until it's too late. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of these silent changes. We talk about what really matters without the fear or fluff. But don't worry, today's video isn't about doom or despair. It's about power. Your power to understand the real link between these conditions and what you can do to protect your vision starting now. Because next, we're going to break down exactly how cataracts and retinopathy overlap, and why missing the signs could mean losing more than just sharpness in your sight. And if you know someone, maybe your spouse, your parent, or a dear friend who's also living with diabetes after 50, consider sharing this. It might be the nudge they need to get checked before something irreversible sets in. So stay with me. What we're about to uncover might surprise you, and it could be the most important step you take for your eyes this year. 1. What are cataracts and diabetic retinopathy? You're reading the morning paper, or maybe a book you've read a dozen times before. But today, the words don't seem as crisp. You blink, tilt the page toward the light, adjust your glasses, still blurry. You chalk it up to age, or maybe poor lighting, or a bad night's sleep. But what if it's something else? Let's talk about two of the most common and most overlooked causes of vision changes in people over 50 with type 2 diabetes: cataracts and diabetic retinopathy. We'll keep it simple, I promise. Cataracts form when the clear lens inside your eye, the one that focuses light, just like a camera lens, starts to cloud over. It's a bit like trying to see through a fogged-up bathroom mirror. Things get dimmer. Driving at night becomes harder. Colors lose their sparkle. Now here's where it gets personal. If you have diabetes, this clouding can happen faster and earlier than it does for most people. You may be 55, but your eyes might be aging like you're 75. If you've ever said, "My glasses just don't work as well anymore," hit the like button. You're not alone. That's often one of the first signs. Now let's talk about the part of your eye that diabetes affects most directly: the retina. A thin layer of tissue at the back of your eye that captures light and sends signals to your brain. Diabetic retinopathy occurs when high blood sugar damages the tiny blood vessels in the retina. They start to leak, swell, bleed, and over time, they choke off the cells responsible for your sharp central vision. It sounds dramatic, but it's often silent. No pain, no sudden loss. Just tiny creeping changes you might not notice until it's advanced. And here's where it gets tricky. These two conditions can look and feel a lot alike in the early stages. That's part of why so many people miss the warning signs until they're harder to treat. That's also why knowing the difference and understanding how they can work together is so important. If this is something you didn't realize, or if you've never had it explained this way before, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. We break this stuff down clearly every week, without jargon or fear tactics. And if you're watching this thinking, this sounds like my spouse or my mom, send this to them. Sharing it might be the nudge that protects their vision. So now that we've unpacked the basics, how do cataracts and diabetic retinopathy interact? Could one be silently hiding the other? That's exactly what we're about to reveal, and the truth may surprise you. 2. The surprising link doctors don't always mention. You're sitting in your eye doctor's office for your annual checkup. You've been managing your diabetes, taking your medications, and your vision hasn't changed that much. Just a little more glare lately. Maybe some cloudy edges when driving at night. Your doctor shines a light into your eyes, but pauses. They say. Your lens is starting to cloud a bit, looks like early cataracts. They note it, smile politely, and move on. But what they can't see clearly, because of that cloudy lens, is your retina. And what may be quietly developing back there, undetected, is diabetic retinopathy. That's the part no one talks about. Here's what the science tells us. If you're living with type 2 diabetes, you're 2 to 5 times more likely to develop cataracts earlier and faster than someone without diabetes. And here's the science behind it, because this isn't just a coincidence. When you're living with type 2 diabetes, high blood sugar does more than affect your energy or your nerves. It also impacts your eyes, specifically the clear lens that focuses your vision. Over time, excess glucose gets converted into a substance called sorbitol inside the lens. Sorbitol draws water into the lens fibers, causing them to swell, lose transparency, and become cloudy, a process that leads to cataracts. At the same time, high blood sugar triggers something called oxidative stress, damaging the proteins inside the lens. And these changes can build silently, long before you notice any symptoms. That's why people with diabetes aren't just more likely to develop cataracts, they often develop them earlier, and they progress faster. But it doesn't stop there. The very same group is also at high risk of developing diabetic retinopathy, and in many cases, the two show up at the same time. Now pause for a second and think about that. Because it's not just about having two eye conditions. It's about how one can hide the other and delay diagnosis at the very moment when early action matters most. If this is the first time you've heard that, tap the subscribe button. We share these hidden connections every week with no fluff and no fear-mongering. Let's take a real-life example. John, 67, had cataract surgery scheduled. His vision had been fuzzy for years. Headlights at night were unbearable, and he often felt like the room was dim even with the lights on. But when the surgeon finally cleared the fogged lens during the procedure, they discovered something more serious. Advanced diabetic retinopathy that had gone undetected for years. No one caught it sooner because the cataracts had blocked the view. It's one of the most heartbreaking patterns we see, and one of the most preventable. If that hits close to home, maybe your partner, a sibling, or your parents are in that boat, consider sharing this video with them. It could be the nudge that helps them get checked before it's too late. So yes, cataracts and diabetic retinopathy are deeply linked. But even more than that, they can work together in dangerous, invisible ways. One clouds the lens, the other threatens the retina. Together, they quietly raise the risk of permanent vision loss. But don't worry, this isn't where the story ends. In the next part, we'll look at what these early vision changes actually feel like, the signs people miss most, and how to spot the difference before the damage gets serious. Stay with me. What you learn next might be the moment everything starts to click. 3. How vision loss actually feels. You're standing in your kitchen, pouring your morning coffee. The sunlight is streaming in through the window, but something's not quite right. It feels like the light isn't landing the way it used to. Everything looks slightly dull, as if the world has lost a bit of its sharpness. You glance at the calendar on the fridge, squinting just a little more than usual. Maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's your glasses, maybe you think it's just age. That's how it starts for many people. A slow, quiet shift in clarity, so subtle, it's easy to ignore. You might find yourself turning on more lights around the house, especially in the evening. You might feel overwhelmed by the glare of oncoming headlights when driving at night. Maybe colors just don't pop anymore. or you can't quite track your grandchild's face in the sunlight the way you used to. And all the while, you tell yourself what we all do. It's probably nothing. If you've ever caught yourself thinking that, or if this feels familiar in any way, hit the like button. You're far from alone. But here's where it gets tricky and a bit dangerous. When cataracts and diabetic retinopathy occur together, they can mask each other's symptoms. One blurs your lens, the other damages your retina. But instead of sounding alarm bells, these changes often feel like normal aging. Just a slight blur, a bit of eye strain, maybe more floaters than usual. And that's exactly why so many people miss the signs until it's harder or impossible to undo the damage. One viewer told us they thought they just needed a new glasses prescription. But after finally seeing a retinal specialist, they learned they had moderate diabetic retinopathy developing behind early cataracts, and they had no idea. That kind of story happens more than you think. If you've never heard that these subtle vision shifts could be signs of something deeper, consider subscribing. We break down what most people miss in clear, real-world terms. And if this reminds you of someone you care about, maybe your spouse, a friend, a parent, someone who's always brushing off changes in their vision, send this their way. Sharing it could be the wake-up call they never knew they needed. So how can you tell the difference between age-related vision changes and something more serious? Up next, we'll walk through 4 specific questions you can ask your doctor and a few simple steps you can take right now to protect your sight, even if nothing feels wrong yet. Stay with me. This is where prevention becomes power. 4. What you can do right now to protect your eyes. You're at your favorite grocery store, standing in the produce aisle. You reach for a bag of spinach, something you've picked up 100 times. But today, for the first time, you pause. Not because of the price or the brand, but because now you know that what you put on your plate might just protect your sight. Here's the good news. And yes, there is good news. You have more control than you've probably been told. Vision loss linked to diabetes isn't inevitable. In fact, it's often preventable. But the key is acting before you feel anything is wrong. So what can you do, starting today? 1. Schedule a comprehensive dilated eye exam once a year, even if your vision seems fine. Because many of the earliest changes, the kind that matter most, can only be seen with dilation. And don't be afraid to ask your doctor directly. Can you clearly see my retina through the lens? Do I show any early signs of cataracts or retinopathy? That simple question could change your future. If that feels like an empowering step you could take this week, go ahead and like this video. It's a small way to say, I'm paying attention to my health now. 2. Keep your blood sugar under steady control, not just to avoid fatigue or nerve pain or kidney trouble, but because your blood sugar levels directly affect the tiny vessels in your eyes. Fluctuations, even when you don't feel them, can quietly damage your vision over time. Here's something many people don't realize. Even a modest improvement in your A1C can slow the progression of retinopathy, or prevent it from starting altogether. That's worth subscribing for if you haven't already. We'll talk more about how food, stress, and movement affect your numbers in future videos. 3. Nourish your eyes from the inside out. Here are 3 vision-loving food groups to start adding to your meals. Leafy greens like spinach and kale, packed with lutein and zeaxanthin, which protect the retina. Omega-3s from salmon, walnuts, or chia seeds, great for blood vessel health. Vitamin C-rich foods like bell peppers, citrus, and strawberries, powerful antioxidants for eye tissue. You don't need a perfect diet, you just need small, steady changes that support your long-term health. And finally, and maybe most importantly, don't wait until your vision changes to take action. Because by the time you notice something's off, the damage may already be underway. If there's someone in your life who keeps putting off that eye appointment, a friend, a spouse, a parent, consider sending them this video. Sharing it might help them protect something they'll deeply miss if it's lost. So what happens if you do everything right and vision changes still creep in? In the next section, we'll talk about why time still matters, even after symptoms begin, and how early treatment can make all the difference. Stick with me. There's hope ahead, and real ways to hold on to the life you love seeing. 5. Why timing matters more than you think. Let's be honest, it's easy to push off the eye exam. You've got errands, grandkids, medications to manage, and besides, you're still seeing okay, right? But here's the quiet reality, the one most people don't hear until it's too late. By the time your vision starts to fade noticeably, it may already be past the point of full recovery. Yes, cataracts can be removed. That part sounds fixable. But diabetic retinopathy? If it goes unchecked, especially behind cloudy lenses, it can lead to irreversible damage. That's why this isn't just about eyesight, it's about timing, and it's about power. Your power to step in early and protect what matters most. If this moment helped shift your perspective even a little, go ahead and like the video. That one small click tells us you're paying attention to your health, and it encourages others to do the same. Here's the part I want you to carry with you. You're not powerless in this, and you're not too late. I've seen people in their 60s, 70s, even their 80s, keep sharp, healthy vision because they caught changes early, stuck with their care, and made simple but steady choices. So take the next small step today, not next month. Call your eye doctor. Pull up your blood sugar log. Add a handful of spinach to tonight's dinner. You don't need to do everything at once. Just one step forward is enough. And if this video helped you feel more confident, more informed, or just a little less alone in your journey, please share it with someone you love. Maybe your partner, your sibling, a friend who's been brushing off their appointments. That simple act could save their sight. Your eyes matter. Your health matters. And you've got this. If you'd like gentle, science-backed support on this journey, subscribe. We're here to help, one step at a time.